There was a boy in a little village who had never failed at anything. At least, that's what everyone believed. If he climbed a tree, someone stood underneath him. If he carried water, someone carried half. If he sharpened a knife, someone took it away before it became dangerous. If he planted seeds, someone quietly replaced the crooked rows after he went inside. The village loved telling each other how remarkable the boy was. What a gifted child, what a bright future, what a blessing. And every compliment was another brick in the invisible cage they were building around him. You see, people think confidence comes from success. It doesn't. Confidence comes from surviving failure. Those are very different things. A child who never falls doesn't become fearless. He becomes terrified of heights. The boy's father meant well. Every father does, every mother too. No one wakes up in the morning hoping to make their child weaker. Love almost never looks dangerous while it's happening. It usually looks like helping. The father had seen enough hardship for 10 lifetimes. He remembered empty winters, broken tools, bad harvests. The day his own father handed him an axe that felt heavier than his future, he promised himself one thing: my son won't have to go through what I did. It sounded noble. Most dangerous ideas do. So whenever life reached toward the boy with rough hands, his father intercepted it. If another child mocked him, the father confronted the family. If the boy forgot his chores, the father quietly finished them after dark. If school became difficult, the teacher received a polite visit. If the boy lost a race, someone explained that winning wasn't important anyway. Funny how quickly adults can rewrite reality to protect a child from disappointment. We're remarkably creative when our emotions are involved. The years passed. The village admired the boy. He was always smiling, always comfortable, always safe. He had never tasted embarrassment long enough to digest it. He had never wrestled with failure long enough to learn its language. People mistook the absence of struggle for strength. They're easy to confuse from a distance. Have you ever noticed that people compliment flowers because they're beautiful, but they compliment oak trees because they survive storms? Beauty impresses us. Endurance earns our respect. The problem was, the boy had only been allowed to become beautiful. One autumn morning, the father handed him a sack of grain. Take this to the neighboring village. It wasn't a dangerous trip, just a day's walk. The father smiled proudly. My son is ready. He truly believed it. The road, however, had never attended the father's speeches. Roads don't care about intentions. Halfway there, the boy met a merchant whose wagon wheel had sunk into thick mud. The merchant asked for help. The boy tried. For the first time in his life, something wouldn't move just because he wanted it to. He pushed. Nothing. He strained. Nothing. His hands blistered. His clothes tore. He became frustrated, then embarrassed, then angry. Finally, he quit. Not because the task was impossible, because he'd never learned what impossible felt like before it became possible. There is a strange moment every human eventually meets. The moment effort stops feeling exciting and starts feeling uncomfortable. Everything after that moment determines your future. The merchant watched him leave. He didn't laugh. He simply sighed. I've seen stronger children. That sentence echoed louder than an insult, because it might have been true. By sunset, the boy reached the neighboring village. His grain had spilled from the torn sack. He'd forgotten half the directions. He couldn't bargain, couldn't negotiate, couldn't solve problems. Every small obstacle felt enormous. Every inconvenience felt personal. He wasn't weak because he lacked intelligence. He was weak because life had never been allowed to argue with him. When he finally returned home, he wasn't angry with the road. He wasn't angry with the merchant. He was angry with himself. I thought I was capable. His father embraced him. You are. But for the first time, those words didn't help. Because encouragement cannot replace evidence, the father offered to accompany him next time. The boy quietly shook his head. No, just one word. Simple, small, powerful. No, I have to go alone. That frightened the father more than the dangerous road ever had. The next week, the boy returned. This time he failed again. He got lost. He chose the wrong path. He overpaid for supplies. He came home late. He looked exhausted. He also looked different. His shoulders weren't lower, they were steadier. A month later, he helped another traveler free a wagon from the mud, not because he'd become naturally gifted, because he'd remembered exactly how frustrating failure felt. Failure had quietly become his teacher. No applause, no certificates, just wisdom earned the expensive way. The village noticed something curious. The boy smiled less often, but when he smiled, it reached deeper. He laughed at himself. He solved problems before asking for help. He stopped worrying about looking capable because he was becoming capable. Those are not the same thing. One requires approval, the other requires experience. Years passed. The father grew old. One winter storm swept across the valley harder than any in decades. Roofs collapsed, trees fell, animals escaped. The father slipped while repairing the barn. His leg broke. For the first time, the strongest man in the family couldn't stand. Without saying a word, the son took over. He repaired fences, organized neighbors, bartered supplies, made difficult decisions, comforted frightened children, worked until his hands bled, failed repeatedly, adjusted, improved, succeeded. The father watched from the window, not with pride, with understanding. He finally saw the difference between protecting a child and preparing one. Those two goals often walk together at first. Eventually, they choose different roads. Parents naturally want to remove pain. Teachers want to remove confusion. Friends want to remove discomfort. But life quietly whispers something we've spent generations trying not to hear. Strength is almost never given, it is built, usually while we're wishing we were somewhere else. Perhaps the greatest act of love isn't making someone's road easier. Perhaps it's believing they're capable of walking the difficult one. The son who never failed wasn't blessed, he was delayed. And when failure finally found him, it didn't destroy him. It introduced him to the person he was always capable of becoming. Maybe that's why the strongest people you've ever met rarely brag about how easy life was. They speak gently, listen carefully, laugh easily, because somewhere along the road, failure stopped being an enemy. It became an old companion that quietly taught them how to stand. And perhaps that's the lesson we keep forgetting. The goal was never to raise someone who never falls. The goal was always to raise someone who knows how to get back up. If you enjoy informative stories full of wisdom without the fluff, please like and subscribe.